Okay.
All right, ready?
Now clap on at 1, okay?
Yep.
5, 4, 3, 2. Little behind, but that's fine. Okay. Uh, yeah, okay. Now, welcome to the Podcasters Podcast. First podcast of the podcast. I said podcast a lot there. Okay. My name's Matthew, and my associate, Hunter. Introduce yourself, Hunter.
Oh, well, thank you for the nice introduction, Matt, with the podcast, Matthew,
Mm,
or Matt, as we refer to him.
do as you please.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So, you introduce yourself really quickly.
All right, Matt. Well, Matt came up with the idea of starting a podcast, and I immediately agreed with him. We've been interested in the technology, and we really wanted to put it into use, so we're starting up a podcast. I really think it's going to be a fun thing to do, and we're looking forward to staying on the web with you guys and doing probably a weekly podcast.
Hopefully a weekly podcast. Now understand the fact that we're teenagers and we're high schoolers, which makes this podcast interesting because we're catching up on social media at the same time you are. Plus, given the facts that we are in high school, we're hearing about a lot of drama and different topics. But understand because of the fact that we're in high school, you get all these interesting topics. But understand the fact that our recording schedule could get screwed up, and our posting schedule will almost always be definite though. But know that almost all these will be pre-recorded until a further date when we decide to finally have live podcasts, more than likely on Twitch streaming or something along those media sources.
And Matt, I would love
now-
to add on to your little introduction there. If we ever, you can always get our schedule on our Facebook page, and we'd appreciate it if we get a lot of likes on our Facebook page. It's PodCastersCT, and you'll get all the latest updates on our Facebook page, and we'll probably keep you updated. You'll get sneak peeks of our new podcast, and I think our Facebook page will really be helpful to some of our viewers who want to know more about previews and what we're going to be talking about in the future. So it's a real good way to stay connected to our podcast.
Yes, and if you're listening to this now, that you understand the fact that you're on our YouTube channel, PodCastersCT 2015. That's our YouTube channel. It's spelled a little differently, but if you go to the Facebook page, which we mentioned just a moment ago, then you'll be able to find the YouTube channel plenty easy. Man, that was illiterate grammar. I am so sorry.
And I will add a link to our Facebook page in the bottom of this video. So if you click below on YouTube and you look in the description, you should see our Facebook page right there in the description. And if the description doesn't work, we'll always add it in the comments too. So it's definitely down there. Just it's in one of those two places.
Yep. Okay, now let's introduce ourselves a little bit more. How about I start?
All right.
So,
Matt.
my name is Matthew. Last name revealed. Not, actually. I am a high school teenager at the age of 15. This is my first audio recording career, I guess you could say, within this field. I'm a musician and an avid video gamer, as well as the fact that I'm quite eccentric when it comes to some things, but you gotta understand, that's how life goes. I have a job currently, which I'm not going to disclose, and I'd also like to say that I'm very intelligent based off what other people say. Know that I don't take that as a narcissistic response, just the fact that I decided to state what many others say. Would you agree with me, Hunter?
I agree with you, Matt.
Yes, I get a lot of comments about that. So I want to say that now, beforehand, make me sound like a narcissist, yes. But I just want to give myself a little bit extra credit there. Okay, now Hunter, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Hunter, of course, and I'm Matt's sidekick, you could say, to this podcast. Wouldn't you call me a sidekick, Matt?
Not so much sidekick, because that means that you're lower than me.
Oh.
I would give you more of a ranking as, like, I don't know, associate,
Co-host.
co-producer, something like those.
Co-host.
Yes. Yeah, co-host works well.
That works good. But anyway, my extracurricular activities, I'm always involved with my church doing sound stuff, and I really want to get into the electrical field someday. I do electrical projects at home by myself, which is kind of unusual for someone my age, but it's what I enjoy, and I really want to get into the electrical field.
Hmm. It's a positive outlook.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I'm very
I
interested
never.
in sound equipment.
Hmm.
I do run sound voluntarily at a TV studio, so that's always a lot of fun.
Hmm.
You gotta love all the people there. It's great to be in that kind of position at teenage years. It's just great.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. Having a job makes you think of some real responsibilities and actual actions of what you're doing.
It does.
Now, what should our first topic be? May I suggest video games?
Video games. Well, I was still thinking we were gonna start talking about a little more about our channel.
Oh, why not? Go ahead.
Let's see, Matt. Or we can explain some our school related subjects that we wanted to talk about. P.S.
You can go along with that.
We did do a practice podcast yesterday, of course, and let's just say we were horrible. We couldn't figure out how to combine our two voices together, and Matt was genius enough to lose the first half of the podcast. So here we are
Let me state the
redoing
fact
it.
that. Okay, let me state the fact that the first podcast wasn't garbage. It wasn't great either. It's just the first podcast. It was a practice podcast in a manner of speaking. But this is a completely new software to us. We haven't used this software in the past, but we're trying to use it because it'll help us in what we're trying to achieve at this point. So, with using it, it makes me feel as though we're going to be making a lot more professional sounding, a lot better sounding videos. Or podcasts, really. So understand the fact that I screwed up a little bit and didn't know how to save the footage exactly. Neither did Hunter, on the other hand, though, because he sent me the footage, or not the footage, but the file, and it was half complete because of the fact that he did not correctly import it to where I can actually get it and go ahead and import it into my footage, or audio recording. Okay, so
Anyway,
let's get back to school subjects.
Conclusion in that, we both are still learning, so you gotta deal with us a little bit while we continue to learn the software. And Matt, would you like to explain the software that we're using?
Okay, so to not get so many questions on the Facebook page immediately, like, what are you using? What kind of microphones are you using? Let me start off. We're both using the same program, Odyssey. Odyssey is a free program that you can download online. I suggest it because it's a very good software for free. Now, I personally am using a Blue Snowball microphone currently. I have the Neon Orange edition. I am also using a pop filter and a Windows 8 laptop. Hunter?
Well, I am using this is kind of funny because people have told me, what, you didn't get a professional microphone? But I think this is professional enough. It is a microphone from a video game for Wii and PS3, I believe.
Yes, PS3 as well as Xbox.
It's called Rock Band, and although I don't play the game, my brother did play it a long time ago, and he put the microphone in my grandparents' garage for whatever reason, and it was locked up for 3 years. And then going through my grandparents' garage about 3 months ago, we found it, and I plugged it into my computer, and I was really proud with the audio that it gives. It really sounds good.
Yes, I have to give him that one. Now, I should say something, that I'm an avid rhythm gamer, so I know exactly what Rock Band is. And before we go on to any school-related topics, let me bring up a video game topic really quickly. I'd like to say I am a proud owner of the brand new Guitar Hero Live Xbox Edition in the 2-player mode. I got it on the first day release. I've currently not sunk in any hours into it. I haven't even unboxed it, because this podcast is important to me. More important than a dream game that I've been waiting ever since they released the release date. Or ever since they even announced the game. I have pre-ordered it. I was the first pre-order for GameStop to ever pre-order this game, which I find really interesting for one thing, as well as the fact that me being an avid rhythm gamer, seeing the fact that this microphone works so well really surprises me. It makes me really interested in it. Okay, now back to school-related topics. Let's discuss maybe some history.
History. Well,
I don't know.
we did have our big civics test today, which was worth 40% of our final grade.
Yes, which was very crucial in its core components to what we actually needed to graduate. I'd say that I did decently well. I definitely did better than a lot of people. I'll say that much.
And I did really well, actually. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I typically get higher grades than him at tests and things, but understand the fact that I'm a procrastinator as well. So I'm kind of imperfect when it comes to homework and stuff.
I
So you're gonna have to deal with that.
I beat him in homework, and sometimes he beats me in tests. That's
I often beat him in tests.
often, and it's funny because say I get like an 82, he gets like a 90. We're always so close to each other. Like I rarely ever get below an 80 on a test, but he always
Hmm.
seems to beat me a little bit. Which Matt, I have to give you credit.
Hmm.
You say you don't
Yeah,
study too much, and I study a lot, and you still get better scores than me. You have a good
that's
brain.
because that's the memorization factor within my brain. I don't study. I'll tell you that right now. I do not study things. I look at them once or twice and I memorize them. Then I go through the process inside my mind. Like, I've been recently learning piano. I have less than 6 hours clocked in, and I already know how to play a majority of songs that most intermediates know how to play. I can play them by muscle memory, because of the fact that my memory goes ahead and remembers that kind of stuff. I can physically play it without needing a piano. I remember every single key, what the other note is, everything like that. I know how to do things like that, unlike a bunch of people.
And yes, I do wish that I had that great memory that Matt does. And he takes piano at as his elective, but I take art as my elective because I like to be creative on things. So, if you, I always love to perfect my microphone. So I was very crazy and went online and bought colorful windscreens. Right now, it has a red windscreen on the top of it, which Matt saw today.
Yeah,
Most
we shared
people, most
microphones.
people don't put colorful windscreens on their microphones, but I wanted to personalize it, make it creative, make it like it's mine because it is mine. I want to personalize it. I like personalizing things.
I'd have to agree with that statement. Because if you'd ever take a look at my desk, which you guys probably will never do, sadly enough, sorry, uh, you should know that I have a bunch of knickknacks, including a gas mask, a carved skull, a bunch of other things. I have a large desk, a majority large desk. However, this desk is going to get cleaned off pretty soon. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, so getting off of school-related topics because that's kind of boring. Let's move on to some stuff that's happening within, I don't know. Why don't you give me a topic?
Um, let's just say what's going on in the next few weeks. We could say Halloween's coming up, which is always a fun holiday. Kids are always walking around getting their candy. Trick or treat,
Yeah,
there's your candy. And
I'd like to say I still trick or treat, but that would be a lie. I stopped trick or treating when I was 13, primarily because of the fact that I thought that, one, I was too old for it. Yeah, I was one of those kids that just stopped because they thought they were too old, as well as the fact that I started to get the embarrassment factor. However, personally speaking, now I've kind of gotten over that because I kind of stopped dealing with people at that point. Where now I can go up to people, like I'll often do this at the mall. My old ex-girlfriend can detest this and go ahead and say that I went up to at least 6 people on the way that we were there and randomly went up to them based off what they were wearing or something and did a joke. Like I went up to a guy who was wearing a Harry Potter shirt and I said Gryffindor or Hufflepuff, and he immediately answered Gryffindor. And I went ahead and I walked away and like did the hand motions, and I went ahead and I made jokes about Star Wars to a guy wearing a Star Wars t-shirt and a bunch of other stuff. I just go up to people and do random stuff because, it's entertaining. Why not? Just let it be.
yeah, definitely. That I just want to make this announcement that I've seen it in stores already. That this year they're, you know how I'm a big fan of Big Hero 6, the movie. They are
Mm.
making a Baymax costume.
Ugh.
Yeah, Matt knows my great obsession with Baymax. And if you haven't seen Big Hero 6, it's out on DVD now. You definitely have to watch it. It is a great movie.
Yeah, or you could just be cheap like everybody else and go onto YouTube because they have that system where it's in act where they can just slow down the pace of it and then you can speed it up now to the new YouTube features. Like I've seen Happy Gilmore on YouTube at least 3 times without paying it, but that's because of the fact that you have that speed up, slow down function, which makes it really useful to get around that copyright strike thing.
Huh.
Because by doing that, you don't necessarily have the original footage; you have a modified version. It's modified to what you're watching. People can modify it to regular version back, but I mean, they don't necessarily have to do that, thereby voiding that thing. Loophole within the system. Look for those.
Huh. So Matt, what are you doing
Yeah.
this year for Halloween?
If I were to say, I would probably say nothing.
Nothing?
Considering the fact that I'm not a very big Halloween person,
Yeah.
I'm more of a Christmas, New Year's person.
That'll be coming up very soon. Yeah, I mean, we have a month until Christmas from tomorrow, actually.
Uh, yeah, that's true. Well, not a month, 2 months, technically
Two
speaking.
months, right? Yes. Duh. Where is my brain? And we have only like a month away from Thanksgiving when you
Mm-hmm.
get that big turkey feast.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of turkey, but I eat turkey every day. That's probably why.
Yeah.
It's because the fact that I eat it with my lunch. I also have pepperoni.
Yep. He has
Now,
turkey and pepperoni mini sandwiches, which is very interesting.
yeah, they're on little slider buns.
Yeah.
I also have organic yogurt and a bunch of stuff like that with it.
Huh. Neat.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to, I don't know. What should we discuss at this point? How about we discuss personal interests? How's that sound?
Personal interest.
Because
Ah.
Yeah, because this is a first podcast, and the people watching probably want to hear what we're actually going to say. And if our alter egos, or our egos anyway, are interesting to them, they might just come back. Because you people are interesting as well, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay. Hunter, how about you start with yourself?
Well, I already told you a lot about myself. I'm sure they're still curious about you. I told them how I like to do electrical projects, and I work with sound systems, and I'm all into that kind of electronic stuff. So I basically already gave my interests. I'm also very involved with my church too. So Matt,
Yeah.
why don't you tell them about you?
Okay. I'm a slight contrast to Hunter in a manner of speaking. To be completely honest, I'd like to say I have my career path set out at this point. I have a job at this point. I go to a very prestigious, in a manner of speaking, high school, to where it allows me to get a future job. But understand the fact that I don't have a clue. I'd really like to say that I have a plan set out at this point, but I don't. I have no clue. Personally speaking, if I could be it, I would totally become a jazz musician, because I play the baritone saxophone, and I get a lot of comments on it. What was it? I got voted by the entire student body at my old school for the yearbook thing to get nominated Best Male Musician within the grade, which was really impressive. I did not expect myself to get that, truthfully.
And let me
But
add in,
apparently,
Matt is a very, very good musician.
yeah,
Maybe
okay.
sometime you'll play for them
Possibly.
when we
It
get our
depends on
new
the fact.
microphones that we're talking about.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a moment,
Yep.
but let me get back to me. Not to sound narcissistic, but to stay on one topic. Uh, I'd also like to say the fact that I am an atheist at this point, a self-declared atheist. So me and him have contradicting points of view on religion. But we're not going to discuss that in this podcast because of the fact that nobody wants to hear about religion on a podcast. So moving aside from that topic, yes, the instrument and microphone thing. Let's talk about the instrument situation. Both me and Hunter are both musicians at this point. As you know, I am a saxophone player, as well as the fact that I play piano at this point. But I am also a violinist. I've been playing violin since I was 5, which is really interesting. And Hunter here is a trumpet player.
Yes, I am. I play trumpet I've been playing for 6.5 years.
I've been playing a little longer than him when it comes to the saxophone. Not the baritone saxophone. I've been playing the exact same time, but for the saxophone in general, I've been playing longer, almost 8 years at this point.
Matt started very, very young. I started in end of 3rd grade, so.
Yeah, I started young.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the new microphone situation. So, as you know, Hunter has his Rock Band 3 mic, and I have my Blue Snowball. I am very proud of my Blue Snowball. However, the fact is that I have a very deep, monotone voice when it comes to recordings and talking in general. But, if you probably can't tell, you can't very well pick that up in the Blue Snowball. So, with that in mind, me and Hunter have decided to go ahead and group together, and we're going to buy the same microphone. Because, one, it's great and amazing sound quality thanks to 2 Clicks Philip, 3 Clicks Philip, and Clicks Philip. I'm sponsoring your videos in manner of speaking. Don't go ahead and make a shout out to me. I'm just a little podcaster. And that microphone will soon be the Samsung Meteor. Samsung Meteor, sorry. It's not the Samsung. It's a different company, just without the U, it's an O. And without a G, obviously. It is an amazing sounding microphone that I would have to say is probably going to be the pinnacle of my microphones.
And Matt, excuse me one second. My phone is ringing. How ironic.
Yes, this happened during the pre-podcast. Now we're reaching the 20-minute mark. We're just about to hit it, actually. So in about 2 minutes after he returns, we are going to end the podcast. Now, know the fact that we will possibly make the podcast shorter or longer, depending on the fact if you guys like them, enjoy them, stuff like that. Now, to go ahead
I
and
am back.
kind of start. Okay.
Sorry about
I
that.
just told them how we're going
What
to
did-
start ending the podcast.
What did you
now.
explain to them?
I explained to them how we're going to change the schedule of the podcast and the timing of the podcast based off of how they react.
And Matt,
And let me just...
let's just go another minute and a half. We can always add in a little bit of time. It doesn't have to be approximately 20. It doesn't have to be exactly 20 minutes.
Yeah, I told them that. Okay, so let me just say one thing really quickly about commenting and liking and everything. So I highly suggest going to our Facebook page and liking, and going to our YouTube channel, which you're probably hearing this on at this point, and subscribing. That would really help us. Now, one thing I'd like to say is that I want criticism. I want crucial criticism, and I want constructive criticism. Know the fact that I don't care what you throw at me. I don't say that as if I'm like, I don't care. I'm saying this as I want actual criticism. I don't want you to dodge around the bullet or whatever you have to say. Tell me what you actually feel. I don't want to be sitting there making something that you all think is garbage. Give me your honest, true opinions. Just make sure that it's not violent or something along those lines. Just give me an honest and true opinion. Nothing that's actually artificial. I want to know something. Constructive and crucial criticism I openly take. Please.
Which is very important, Matt. We do want constructive criticism, and also on our Facebook page, you can go ahead and request topics that you want us to talk about.
Discuss.
By sending us a message. It's on the top of our page. It's under send a message. You can just type in a message, and yeah, tell us. Just give it. You don't even have to give your name. You can just tell us what you want to see on our next podcast, and if you're lucky enough, we'll go ahead and incorporate it into our podcast.
Okay, so now that it's the end of the podcast, let me just say, we haven't come up with a full schedule for this thing. However, we have a majority basis vote between us that we will be releasing this weekly. The scheduled release date will be a week from every release, probably. And then we're pre-recording this, so we'll probably see your comments beforehand, and then we'll go ahead and record it, and then edit it, and then put it up.
And obviously, we are recording this. It's actually Tuesday, October 20th right now, but this won't be uploaded until probably around October 24th, which is Saturday. We're going to try to upload on Saturdays. If that doesn't work, we'll probably upload Friday afternoons or Sunday afternoons, sometimes even Monday afternoons. It just depends on when either of us can sit here and watch a video upload to YouTube, because I know it takes forever sometimes.
Yep.
But
okay,
as I said, you can always get our schedule and get the latest updates on our Facebook page. So definitely stay close to our Facebook page.
I agree with that. Okay, now ending on this note, let me just say, I hope you enjoyed the first podcast of the Podcasters. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hunter, say goodbye.
All right, everyone. I do really appreciate you listening to our first podcast, and we will start getting more interesting. Trust me, this was just our first podcast to get us a little familiar with how this works, and we will definitely be incorporating some very exciting topics. We'll probably be adding in some events, and we'll probably be discussing what's coming up in the season. Snow's coming around the corner, and I know Matt loves snow, so we'll be talking about the subject of how much he had to shovel out of snow. Matt. And hopefully someday we can get the power to have live people on the show, which would be really cool.
Yes. Now on that note, I must say goodbye to you people.
Yes.
Now, on 3, cut. 1, 2, 3.
Cut.